Multiple sources are reporting that Disney layoffs are underway, even though Bob Iger came back to the company because people thought he was going to come back and turn things around. It looks like 300 people are going to lose their jobs over the last few days, maybe a few more. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is theme park expert, Mr. VashSky. Vash, are you doing all right this morning?
I'm doing just fine, thankfully. But man, when I saw the story, my heart breaks. But it's gotta be honest, Jonas, no surprise.
Yeah, it really isn't a surprise at this point. But this one out of Deadline, this from Dominic Patton and Nelly Andriva. Disney layoffs underway, hundreds of corporate staffers impacted. Right here, they tend to use this graphic and then sub in the color and the company there. Exclusive, more layoff news in what already has been depressing this week. Disney is in the middle of a new wave of cuts as part of a cost-saving initiative, sources tell Deadline. We hear about 300 or so people are affected by the layoffs that started yesterday and are continuing today and tomorrow, with a possibility to stretch beyond that. The positions, all based in the U.S., are across Disney's corporate operations, including legal, HR, finance, and communications, we hear. Among the divisions that are not impacted in this round are parks, ESPN, as well as Disney Entertainment. So the vindictive people who want someone fired because of an attraction or a movie that they didn't like, you can move along there. This is not what we're talking about. These are people who show up to work every day and do work that is not glamorous. We continually evaluate ways to invest in our business and more effectively manage our resources and costs to fuel the state-of-the-art creativity and innovation that consumers value and expect from Disney, a Disney spokesperson said in a statement to Deadline. As part of this ongoing optimization work, we have been reviewing the cost structure for our corporate level functions and have determined there are ways for them to operate more efficiently. As a person who's been in the corporate world for more than a decade, this happens sometimes, especially if you merge two departments together. Often you have redundancies. If you have a department that facilitates two different departments, or if you have two departments with their own HR function or their own legal function, sometimes it just works out, especially when you have a company as large as Disney, tens of thousands of employees. 300 is not difficult to find, unfortunately.
Oh, no question. You have a lot of support infrastructure for a company of this size. And again, we'll get into the exact numbers a little bit later, I'm sure. But they've been doing some downsizing for, the last 2 years or so. And because of that, well, you're going to need less people on the back end, which is apparently a lot of people that are going to be let go here, finance, HR specifically, and so forth. But we'll get into it.
Yep. Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct about these being an ongoing process here. Here's Deadline's thoughts on that. Today's cuts follow the July 31st round of layoffs at Disney Entertainment Television, when 140 people were let go, representing 2% of the total Disney Entertainment Television workforce, and Disney Animation Studio Pixar reducing staff by 14% in May. We're hearing that was about 300 as well, and we know, based off of the IGN reporting, that was before Inside Out 2 came out, because the people who were working on Inside Out 2 would have been eligible to receive bonuses based off that becoming the highest grossing animated film of all time. An astounding number when you really think about it. And the film division making record numbers is not enough to keep a lot of people around. That's a very sad statement about the margins in the film business there. Disney's layoff started yesterday, on the same day that Paramount Global laid off hundreds in the second round of its own layoffs, aiming to cut 15% of the company's U.S. workforce, with Paramount Plus getting the brunt of the cuts. This, I've been following the Paramount situation, but we haven't really been reporting on it here. Paramount, it feels like every other week, is announcing another round of layoffs. And the rumor this time is that Alex Kurtzman, rumor is that Alex Kurtzman, who's in charge of New Trek, has been let go. We have no confirmation of that whatsoever. But Disney right now doesn't seem to be getting rid of maybe they did kind of get rid of somebody that in the entertainment division. They demoted her. But it doesn't seem like any of this is doing anything that's going to fix the creative futures of the company.
Yeah, I would think so. I definitely been hearing a lot of stuff going on at Paramount as they set up for perhaps new ownership. But when it comes to Disney itself, like I was saying before, you've had a series of cuts. First started out at 7,000, as initially stated by Bob Iger. Then that was actually increased to something around 8,000. Now we're hearing hundreds let go of various animation departments, including Pixar. So, with that kind of workforce being shedded, well, then that supporting infrastructure, those supporting roles that would lay the foundation for such an operation, well, those can be removed as well, because, well, you have less staff to manage and provide resources for. So this is not all surprising. I heard from a number of people that it was like, look, they start with the people doing the jobs, but then the people who did the layoffs, well, they'll lay them off too eventually. And I think that's where the HR comes in. Hopefully some of those recruiters or some of the people who may have facilitated perhaps the company going astray might have been looked at, I don't know, perhaps first, but who knows?
Yep. Layoffs, especially mass layoffs, are a there's some pretty dark days in the office. Some of the darkest days I've had at the office have been days when layoffs take place. I was at one company where an HR person told me about a coworker of his who spent the entire day delivering on behalf of the person who was firing them, laying off people. And at the end of the day, that person was laid off from her function after having one of the worst days of work, and then at the top of it being laid off. This is a situation where they are not always handled with tact, and can be incredibly tragic. I probably shouldn't have thrown that into a video about Disney. I don't want to say that they're doing anything like that, but let's talk about the environment here a little bit. Traditional media companies are going through tough times amid a soft ad market, despite the influx of spending on political ads and live sports, as pay TV continues to decline markedly and ad dollars are migrating to digital platforms. Who owns those digital platforms? That's all I'm going to say there. Legacy companies also have been trimming streaming costs as they are shifting focus on profitability for their platforms. In a case like this, an election year, I mean, the election is 40 something days away, maybe less than that now. The spending is through the roof on that, and for some reason they can't keep the lights on here. That's fascinating. In addition to Disney and Paramount's multiple rounds of staff reductions, Fox Entertainment eliminated 30 positions through a restructuring in July, and there were also layoffs at Warner Brothers Discovery the same month. So right here, the big first wave in 2023, this is at Disney, eliminated roughly 7,000 jobs over multiple rounds. That roughly right there is doing a lot of lifting, because they confirmed it was 8,000 on an earnings call and represented 3.2%, 2% of the company's workforce there. This is one of the more difficult parts of covering a company like Disney, is that sometimes this happens. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing, but any company on that level is going to have layoffs at some point. They can't seem to turn this thing around, though. Vash, what do you think is going to change the financial futures of the Disney company?
I've said it once, said it before, say it again. The creative engine of the company is kind of stalled right now, and especially right now when you look at things like Acolyte and Agatha and stuff. We know they're pivoting on that end as well, but don't expect any productions like those anytime soon, unless the creative engine, and that comes from all levels, really pivots and turns around in a big way. Expect more of this stuff as things just die on the vine or don't perform as expected. A lot of these projects given 4-quadrant budgets in order to really move the needle on a lot of their operations, and they just haven't. Now, you do have successes like Deadpool, Wolverine. We know that's kind of a flash in the pan, and Inside Out 2, great success, and apparently they're going to duplicate at least some of that with future productions over there at Pixar, but that remains to be seen. So you definitely need to do a lot there. They talk about streaming and how it's a tough environment for ads. I can tell you right now, that's absolutely the case. Unfortunately, because of some of the economic, let's say, decline, it just hasn't been the strongest economy in the world. And so when you talk about these corporations or companies who are looking to buy ads for their products, well, if there's nobody willing to necessarily buy your product, then there's really not a lot of excess discretionary spending to go along with while paying for marketing and advertising for said products. You see how it kind of works there? And Disney is having to contend with that as well.
Yeah. Now, I've set you up a little bit here, Vash, because none of the things that you said right there were directly related to the stock price. And here's the truth about layoffs. Every time layoffs happen, they spike the stock price. This is obviously the pre-open trading there, and then the opening bell here. But when you do layoffs, it increases the stock price of the company almost without fail. It's something that a lot of companies do, especially when they're very focused on entertaining Wall Street investors, perhaps more interested in entertaining Wall Street investors than they are in entertaining families. Well, that being said, we want to throw this to commenters. What do you think about this situation? I am not going to ask you a specific question on how you feel about layoffs. Our thoughts go out to anyone who has lost their job, and I'm sorry to hear that you will have to move on, unless you're the kind of person who is waiting for that day that you got severance. Maybe you're one of those people, and for that I say good for you. That being said, like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.